We're going to be talking about estimating sums and differences. Now, the word estimate, when you hear that, do you remember me saying the signal word? Estimate. What does that mean? Round, then solve. So estimating means don't solve it exactly. It means see if you can come up with a number from rounding to give you an approximate answer. So if I'm going to estimate the sum of 297 plus 132, I'm first going to round, then solve. So I look at 297, and 297 is very close to the next 100. It's also very close to the next 10. And now when you're estimating, you have to decide. Are you going to round it to hundreds, tens, thousands? It depends on the number. So the smaller the place value you round it, the more accurate it will be. So 297 is very close to my next 100. I know that it's very close to 300. Now, if we're going to use our rules for rounding, we would look at that hundreds. We look at the neighbor to the hundreds place, and we would use the rule 5 or more, raise the score. So that 2 would become a 3. So 297 rounds to 300. Now, I can go ahead and round to the hundreds also, but I don't think I'd quite get as accurate of an answer as I'd like. So I think for this one, it's going to be more accurate if I round to the tens place. So 132 rounded to the nearest tens. I look at my tens place, and then I look at that right neighbor, and I ask which rule applies. 4 or less, let it rest. So that 3 remains a 3, and the hundreds place stays, and my ones place, since I rounded, becomes a 0. So 132 rounds to 130 to the closest tens. Now that I have rounded, now I can solve. Now I can add. Starting adding in my ones place, 0 plus 0, 0, 0 plus 3 is 3, and 3 plus 1 is 4. So my sum from estimation is 430. So I do the same thing here, but this time I'm subtracting. I'm going to estimate. Round, then solve. 707, am I going to round it to the nearest tens, or am I going to round it to the nearest hundreds? Same with 430. You make the decision. I think I'm going to round to the nearest tens. So if I look at my tens place, my right neighbor, 5 or more, raise the score. That 0 becomes a 1. My 7 in my hundreds place stays. And my ones place becomes a 0. 433 rounded to the nearest, what should I do? Tens again, okay. 4 or less, let it rest. That 3 stays. My 4 in my hundreds place also stays. And my ones place becomes a 0. And now I'm going to subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. I cannot take 3 away from 1. So what do I have to do? I have to regroup. Go to my hundreds place. I'm going to borrow one of those hundreds. One of those hundreds I'm going to convert into 10 tens. And I'm going to add that to the 110 I already have. So now I have 11 tens. 11 tens minus 3 tens is 8, and then 6 minus 4 is 2. It's actually 6 hundredths minus 4 hundredths is 2 hundredths. So my difference is 280.